Information on the screen is 4, so it's interpolated data, and in that case it's 0900 Zulu on the 20th. Well, we don't want that data. That's not, we're sleeping. So we want to go to something that's germane to the time when we might be soaring. It's the UTC offset is -4, so if I go to 1800 Zulu, that would be 2 o'clock, and now you can see the red line, which is the environmental lapse rate, the temperature of the parcel or of the balloon as it rose with altitude, and the dew point in blue. So now you look at whatever source you want and you say, well, what's the temperature going to be at that time of day at that location? So Quest Air, at 2 o'clock, it's probably going to be 79 degrees, maybe even hotter, 80 degrees. Today it's supposed to be 82. So you can take your cursor and you can move it up until you're at 28 feet. 28 feet. Well, it's only saying 75. Well, I know it's going to be hotter then, so I'm going to move it to the right until I see 79 degrees. I'll show you, we can expand this to make it a lot easier to manipulate. I'll show you that in a second. So at 79 degrees, there's a parcel of air that gets disturbed on the ground for, Campbell's not here, so we can say that there's a tractor that did it. And a tractor came through and this hot bubble that had adhered to the surface finally broke loose. It was disturbed and it started shooting up. Well, when it goes up, it's going to cool adiabatically, 5.3 degrees per 1,000 feet. And so you can't quite see it here, but there's a magenta line that's increasing. And if I take the cursor, now that I've already clicked that temperature, I can follow that up until it reaches condensation level, or it meets the red line where it cools and is now in equilibrium with its surroundings. And you can see I moved the cursor up to this point here where it met this dew point profile, and now that's 2,788 feet. So 2,800 feet is the top of the lift. Or I shouldn't say that. Is cloud base in this case. Well, now look what happens here, and that's why this day we decided to cancel. This is primarily one of the two inputs that influenced our decision. Now that parcel begins to cool at the saturated adiabatic lapse rate, and it's got this curved line that goes like this. Well, all the way up at 26,000 feet, it's still rising. Vapor's still being formed. So that alone, I mean, we typically would not want to fly on a day like that. Number one, it's 2,800 feet, but even if it was 6,000 feet, you better be very, very cautious if you're going to fly on a day. I mean, to me, this has probably got so much vertical development that there's a lot of moisture that's fallen out of that thing, and so it's going to rain. But there are days where it doesn't, or may not, and you could be thermaling under that thing and thinking you're fat, dumb, and happy, and all of a sudden, man, oh, it's 1,000 feet per minute, so smooth. Oh my God! Oh wait, I need to get to the edge of that cloud. And then boom, you're in it. Well, you can play hell to get out of that thing. I mean, if that thing is, 500 meters across, by the time you reach the edge, you could be 2,000–3,000 feet higher, because it's just going to get stronger.
Can I ask you a question? What on that chart shows what I see right now, where it's just coming off all the sun, so the clouds all smushed like a solid layer?
Nothing is showing that right now.
Okay.
Well, it is showing that at this point, this location, you're going to have overdevelopment.
Okay.
So if I plotted a point over there, it's going to say overdevelopment over there. So it's, and Barton, is there a better way of characterizing that for?
No, overdevelopment is
okay.
the term.
So just this vertical development alone tells me there's going to be clouds everywhere. The air is so unstable that it's going to condense early and it's going to be massively tall. So that was at 2 o'clock. So I'm gonna show you one more thing. So I'll take it out to 4 o'clock. And I'm gonna make it so that we can see it better. And if I take my cursor and I use my left button here and I drag it this way, I can expand this thing. And it'll make it even easier to determine what's happening with the air, because it'll be blown up. Instead of going up to 50,000 feet or 100,000 feet, it's now capped at about 7,000 feet. So now you can see a little bit better the parcel as it's rising, which is more typical of what we see on a decent soaring day, this part, but it's still well below the 5,000 foot line. It starts, there's a small inversion above about 2,000 feet, okay, where the temperature profile changes. Stops cooling at 5.3 degrees per 1,000 feet, something less than that. So now I'm going to take my cursor again and what did I say the high was for today? 82. Looks like I grabbed it a little too high in altitude. This is from 400 feet, but this will work. So now if a parcel of air heats up to 82 degrees, gets disturbed and leaves the surface, it's going to cool adiabatically until it either reaches the dew point where a cloud will form or it reaches equilibrium. And in this case, you can now take the cursor. So we plotted a temperature profile in magenta. Now you can take the cursor and watch the wind direction and speed as we go up. So it's almost due south, 11 knots. Can you see the 11 there? Right here. Okay. And we're following this adiabat. Now we're at 2,790 feet. Wind is shifting more out of the turning westerly, so it's west of south. 213 degrees at 19 knots. So I said the vertical development was one reason why we were saying that we're not going to fly today, and this was the other reason. You know, this was the primary reason in my mind, because we could wait out. We've had days where thunderstorms rolled through, then it opened up and we've done a 60-mile task. And the ground is wet and we're all kind of miserable and setting up and thinking, why are we doing this? You know, we'd rather go bowling or something and juggle bowling balls or something, you know. So, so 19 knots is probably right around 21, 22 miles an hour. And you're not even at the top of the lift yet. So with the direction being southwesterly, it's pushing you over in this direction toward Orlando airspace, Leesburg airspace, and a lot of development. So I've looked at going that route a number of times. We'll probably never call a task. I shouldn't say never, hey Zach. But we definitely won't call a sport task off in that direction, because number one, the landing fields are too far apart between the developed areas and the lakes and the airspace. So it would make it hazardous. And then, you know, I mean, if this were a south wind day and it weren't a competition, if it were 180 degrees and we didn't have the overdevelopment, yeah, we'd fly in this. There's some of us that would fly in this. Those are the classic days that we look for, as long as there's not overdevelopment. But let's see. So I'll keep going up to where I think the top of the lift is, and it's at 3,745 feet. You see that? Right there?
Yep.
Now it's 225 degrees at 20 knots. And you can see the barbs here on the flag. So, yeah, that's some significant wind. So I'll go a little bit higher, and this is interesting here where the parcel has reached equilibrium, but it appears that there's something here going on. And the best I can tell you is Gary Osaba calls it incipient cumulus development. So the guy's a wizard and I'm a high school graduate, so I can't explain it to you. But what it is telling me, I guess what I would tell you it is telling me is that there's going to be some cumulus development. And you can see that the parcel rises above that then, and it's to the left of the environmental lapse rate. And you can see that there is still cumulus cloud development, condensation